ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. We have a special quick hit that we're going to give you guys. Isaac Schade, Locked On Tar Heels host, is going to talk to us about the game happening on Saturday. We all know it's going down between Carolina and Duke. It's going to be a good one, Isaac. We've got all the energy. I feel in the heat. This is the first All Heels episode I get to do. It's been a while since I got to talk to somebody from Carolina, but I'm super pumped about it. So first, welcome to Locked On ACC. So glad to have you part of Locked On Podcast Network.
Thanks, Candace. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, your background is lit. I need to up mine. Goodness.
Well, I'm in my office. This is my fun shelf, and This is like my work shelf, all my books. So
yeah, I see. The energy is like very smart. Excuse me.
I know.
No, that's where I
also,
like it.
Apologies to everyone. I just realized I'm wearing Virginia Tech colors, and the Carolina women's basketball team just lost to Virginia Tech. It's not my fault, I promise.
No worries about it. Listen, when we watch this back tonight, we'll just try and watch with eyes of knowing that Carolina did their best. Okay,
that's right.
Not Isaac's fault. They did their best. But no, we have a big men's game happening, and we all know that it's Coach K's final performance. And from a Carolina perspective, are you ready for this guy to just go ahead about his business?
Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty nervous that if Carolina wins this game or Duke doesn't win the national championship, he's not going to actually retire. John Shire, you're going to have to wait another year.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And he spoke about how he wants nothing to do with the team afterwards, and he's really just going to go enjoy retirement. And on the flip side of that, some people were saying that maybe that's a shot towards Roy because we know Roy's at every single game. So right. I'm curious to see, maybe based on the arena dynamics, it's a lot easier for Roy to come and support, right? Sure. Doesn't have to be in that hot box. But would love to get your thoughts on thinking that Coach K might actually walk away.
Yeah, I had that same thought that you just mentioned. He talked about like sitting lording over the game, and that's where Coach Williams sits, is right at the players' tunnel entrance. But also, you could have walked away before or after a season without having a whole season long. So
Facts.
Right.
Listen.
Okay. We'll just drop that there and leave it. So, no, here, very, very honestly, I have so much respect for Coach K, what he does for the game of college basketball. Like, I feel like I want to be like a next Dickie V, where I'm just like trumpeting college basketball. Like, let's go. This sport is awesome. People need to love it. We need to change when the college basketball schedule is, but that's a whole different conversation. Coach K has done this right? Yeah. He's represented college basketball. He's represented our country, leading us well. And, while, I want to beat Duke every time Carolina plays them, Duke is a school that's never had a hint of impropriety around their program. I know some people tried to, try to dig up some dirt with Zion and stuff, but there's nothing there, And so while I want to beat his pants off every time Carolina plays them, I respect their program a lot. And I miss the days of before they were one and done, where you knew all the Duke guys, all the Duke fans knew all the Carolina guys, and that just made the rivalry, I think, more intense. So I think some of that has waned. And so that makes me very interested to see how Coach Shire will approach things going forward.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we all know Coach Shire has already started with some really strong recruits. And Hubert Davis, on his side of things, I think after year one, we saw, you dipped your head in the transfer portal. It worked out, give or take a couple. We wish we could have back. Yes. But, I really hope that maybe going into next season when it's Davis versus Shire, the energy will still be high, because there was a lot of conversation around it's not going to be as fun. It's about the head coach too. Roy Williams is gone. Coach K is gone. Do you still feel like the rivalry will be just as sweet without these head coaches?
I do. I think it's going to lose a little luster at first, just because it's not those figureheads in Coach Williams or Coach K. However, when you think about Coach Shire, he is a Duke guy. He won a national championship there. He loves that university. He has poured blood, sweat, into tears in it as a player and now as an assistant coach and going forward as a head coach. Same for Hubert Davis. For Carolina fans, they know how heavily invested this man is in this institution. And so I think as they both cement themselves, their style of play, their personnel, I absolutely think it's going to get back to where it's been.
And you know what's crazy to me? We live in an era now where everything is like 2 bad games, we want you fired. Coach K, Coach Roy didn't have to deal with that, right? They weren't having 3 years, and we're kind of considering if they're hyped to lead these different institutions. And so it's going to be interesting how much time we give Shire and Davis.
Absolutely, it will. I've talked all season long. People, patience with this man. In fact, on yesterday's Locked On Tar Heels podcast, I talked about how back in November, Carolina was 3-2. They had just lost to Purdue and Tennessee. And the next day, Cincinnati won against Illinois, who was ranked, which is coached by Wes Miller. And so a whole bunch of Carolina faithful were like, oh man, we should have got Coach Miller. And I don't understand why we are in this era of instant gratification. I don't know if it's part of the one and done scenarios or what it is, but Coach Davis, Coach Williams, Coach K had all sorts of space. Yes, Coach Smith was hung in effigy, but you know what? When you look, I've done some looking back this year at Coach Smith's first couple years, Coach Williams' first year. What Coach Davis is doing record-wise is actually a little better than either of them did their first year. And Coach Matt Doherty, who did not turn out well at Carolina, had a phenomenal first year. And so it's just... We have to have the long view on this thing.
No doubt. And I think we all try to forget the Doherty years. I'm not going to hold you. But it's fine. I think sometimes we get too caught up in like the Carolina family, the brotherhood, and you want the person to have some sort of tie and connection, which I think is fine. But I think as I'm growing, I'm okay with maybe stepping out. So I'm not saying I don't want this to work out for either. I'm just saying if it doesn't work out, maybe we should just break out the family a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
No, absolutely. Listen, Brad Stevens, come to Chapel Hill. We'll take you.
No doubt about it. But for the matchup happening on Saturday, we've got 2 really good teams, 2 coming off really good wins, and everyone just feeling the energy of wanting to deliver for this, monumental blockbuster performance. What do you see happening as we roll out and the clock starts for Carolina trying to come up against, Goliath, essentially?
Yeah. I mean, you're right, Candace. It is... Duke presents a lot of difficult matchups for Carolina. As we go across in the first matchup, Coach Davis decided to start Armando Bacot on Banchero, and that just was a terrible recipe. Bacot was on the bench with 2 fouls like before the first media timeout. And so they're going to have to find a different way to match up. I think it just makes sense to start with Leaky Black on Banchero, and then you just filter down from there. That puts Bacot on Mark Williams, probably Manic on Wendell Moore, although last time it was Caleb Love, and so I think that might be a switch. The other problem for me is that Trevor Keels is back starting. In the first matchup with Duke, he was not back fully from injury yet, and so he's 6'4". RJ Davis is 6 foot even, and so honestly, I think Keels might just go off. He had 27 their last game at Pitt, and so I think that's a big factor. I think one thing that might be in Carolina's favor is the emotion of the day. One thing that I'm thinking is that for Duke, the day matters more to them with everything going on. They've already got the number 1 seed in the ACC tournament locked up. Yes, they're playing for NCAA tournament seeding, but it's more about the end of things for Coach K. While as on the flip side for Carolina, you win this thing and you have cemented yourself in the NCAA tournament. Whereas right now, they're on the bubble, probably on the right side of the bubble, but going into Cameron Indoor Stadium and ruining Coach K's retirement party, that gets you into the NCAA tournament.
100%. And I'm nervous for them only because I don't want them to get too caught up in the moment, right? I love that Caleb Love wants to be a savage and he has all that energy. Just channel it. Don't do too much. Don't try and take over. I think it's going to be the biggest thing. Don't try and play hero. Just play teammate. Okay? Just do what you got to do.
100%. And that's where he falls apart sometimes, is trying to shoulder too much of the load when you've got offensive studs all around you. Be a facilitator.
Absolutely. Brady,
Channel
listen.
Kendall Marshall.
Okay, Brady, I need you to find your inner Larry Bird. Like, you've been doing it great. Just find some defense too. But if you can just find find a little bit more of that offense all night, I will be happy. But I also, when you talk about that Baycott Mark Williams matchup, that's the one that I think is going to be a game changer because, Baycott loves to play big when he's in moments where I feel like he can be successful, but sometimes plays a little timid when guys challenge him back. So I think that's going to be one of those interesting matchups that we see. But then, hell, you got the whole AJ Griffin X factor. He could just shut everything down. He's going to go off for 45.
And that's part of it. It's the same issue Carolina had against Syracuse on Monday, where you can't split Leaky Black in half to guard Buddy Boeheim and homie Cole Swider, who just went off. That's the issue. You really need two Leakies to guard both AJ Griffin and Banchero, but you don't. So you talk about AJ Griffin as an X factor for Duke. I think Puff Johnson's an X factor for Carolina because if he can guard AJ Griffin while Leaky's on Banchero, then I think that might help neutralize some of those mismatches.
No doubt. And so we have a great matchup happening. I feel like it's going to be a lot closer. The BetOnline comes out tomorrow with the spread, but they're looking like minus 12 Duke. Are you taking plus 12 Carolina on that one?
Absolutely I am. Like I just, based on the results of the first game, like it's, you would have to take Duke to cover, but like I just don't see Carolina getting blitzed in that same way. And 12 is a big fat number. And so, I'm absolutely taking Carolina to cover.
I would say same, only because Duke has struggled at home, even with teams like Clemson, teams with Virginia. And also, you got 80-plus alumni coming that are going to be in your face. It's going to be nerve-wracking. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how great of a hero star, LeBron James-esque person you think you are, until them lights are on and you got to play for Coach K, okay? We just want to make sure the guys get their uniforms afterwards. Like, I hope they don't get, stripped of everything off the laws. I hope it's a good game to where they still can, come to practice on Monday.
100%.
Yeah, no doubt. But I really appreciate your time, Isaac. And of course, talk about the new show. Where can folks go to listen to you and find all of you and your work?
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Isaac Schade. You can see it right here. Yay. And make sure you see it because it's spelled super weird. All my names are weird. But you can follow the show on Twitter also at Locked On Heels. You can find us on all your podcast platforms for audio, and we are on video. Just started video on YouTube this past week. So close to 100 subscribers. I think it was at 95 last time I checked.
Let's go.
So come on, people. Let's do this. Get going on subscribing on the Locked On Tar Heels YouTube page.
Yeah. With this camera quality, how could they not want to join? My goodness, you're just very crystal clear right here. So make sure you guys follow, subscribe, Locked On Heels. As Isaac mentioned, come back over on Monday. We're going to go over all of the games because, there are other teams playing. I know that it's very confusing for folks, but there is other matchups. And so we'll get ready for that ACC tournament for the men and talk about the ACC Women's Champion for the women. So for Candace Cooper and Isaac Schade, until next time.